SHAR-KADE. So I'm doing a test of the sharpshooter. I've done some updates. I've just had to repair an issue, so I'm hoping I don't run into that same issue again. But other than that, I've done all the configuration for all the guns, all the games, the recoil and so on. Finally got the printer sorted as well, so we've got these custom plates all flashing nicely. We've got our custom grill there. I've run out of sticky tape to put the back grill on, so I'll pick that up first thing in the morning. I've just got to design the rails for the guns, design the artwork for them, which I'll do tonight, alongside some other designs. I've got the plates there to fit in and slot in there, just to theme the whole cabinet, make it look absolutely stunning. It's going to look a really cool unit, this, once it's finished. I should be finished tomorrow with a video, some photo content of this unit all done. We've got the Wild Stallions unit. I want to get that video done tomorrow as well. That's done as well. I've just got to check the Wii controller stuff. I've got a few builds to start this week. Quite a few builds to start this week. Get cracking. Try and do about 3 or 4 this week if I can. Tomorrow I'll be backing up the hard drive on this as well. So I'll be backing up the main settings of this one. So it's got all the new settings on the drive over there. And inside the unit, before it goes off, because this is a US build, it's got a power supply inside. 2 power supplies. It's got the main power supply and then another power supply for the 24 volts. That's got to be switched. I've got to make sure I switch that. Because as soon as the customer plugs it in the US, it'll blow that power supply. So I've got to make sure I switch over the switch inside. There's a little switch inside on the power supply, just needs to switch to 120 volt. So I'll make sure that I get that done before I get the unit shut off. I'll just do a quick test of some games as well, show off what's new on the system. So in tools option, we do have now demul shooter working, no problem. The issue was the TIR game controller. That basically sets the IDs of all the devices and makes sure they're in order each time. Now, I've got other software there that'll keep these guns in order and stuff like that, all the IDs in order. But what that was doing is it was causing demul shooter to just stay defaulted blank. So each time I would have to set up demul shooter through this tools option and so on. But this is a fresh start, so I'm going to just load it up to show that it's all set up. So now demul shooter, if you can see, is already configured. So it's all set up ready. That's same with the other demul shooters. There's some other demul shooters specific for certain games in other folders. They're also the same. So I'm hoping this goes right. Also, by default, the recoil is disabled. For Aliens Extermination, the recoil is enabled anyways. You can't, I don't think you can disable it. I haven't found a way to disable it, because that's what these guns are designed for, that game. So the only game that is default with the recoil is that game. All the other games it's switched off for by default. So I have a recoil option in tools, which all you do is load up and then exit out. On the unit itself, I do have 2 left and right pinball buttons. There you're up and down. I didn't want a joystick on there and move up and down the menus. I just thought I'd keep the pinball buttons as you're up and down on the menu. You've got your coin and start for player 1, player 2 for the games that require coins and start. and then I've got an exit button. Now our exit button is our left pinball. Our back button is our coin player 1. So on the menus, our back button is coin player 1. And then our select button is our start button. It's that simple. So I've added Night Hunter on here. I've also added, we have Rabbit's Hollywood. We have Sailor Zombie AKB48 Arcade Edition. We also have Gaia Attack 4. That's on here. And I believe there was another one. We have Fixed Tomb Raider as well. And we have Dark Escape 4D. Now, games like Aliens Armageddon is on the system, but you do need Technoparrot Patreon account to play these games. Now, with this unit, I'll just turn that down a second. With this unit, you can put this one online. It's not like the other arcades where if you keep it online, 1 or 2 games are likely to break. With this unit, you can have the unit online all the time. There has been precautions put in place to avoid any network attacks and stuff like that in the background. But other than that, you can put these units online. You can then set up your Technoparrot with the Patreon. You do need online for Patreon to work correctly. So you'd enable the online on the units, and then all you do is go to Technoparrot website and then go through the process of setting up your Patreon account. Getting the Patreon, you get a code, you put the code into Technoparrot, and then that game should load no problem. The recoil and everything also is set up ready on that game as well. So let's load Transformers, because this was a previous title we did have a recoil issue with. So I'll still do my test tomorrow anyway, so if there is any issues, I'll filter those out tomorrow and make sure everything's working spot on. So we don't have recoil player 1 for some reason. So that's something I'm going to have to look at. And we don't have movement. So let's see. We don't have any movement at all. And we don't have recoil. So that's weird. I'll have to look at the controller IDs, make sure it hasn't swapped them. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and try Deadstone Pirates. Because Deadstone Pirates is running through Demul Shooter, it should recognize the controllers anyways, because it is set in Demul Shooter to those controller IDs. I'll just have to double check and make sure that the IDs are staying in the right order. So let's take a look. So add a couple of coins, press start. And I don't have any recoil on this either. And I don't have any movement. So I have recoil player 1, I have movement player 1, player 2, sorry. And it does look like the Your left and right pinball is a wheel on this as well. For this game, you do have the left and right pinball as a wheel. Now we do have movement there, but for some reason we're not getting any recoil in. So my guess is the IDs on the guns have swapped again. So what I'm going to do is, if I hold my so player 1 arcade controls as well aren't recognizing by default as well. So I'll try and set the camera down if I can. Just sit it there a second, and I'll just double check to make sure the IDs are in the right order. Yeah, so the IDs of the guns, gun 2 I believe is recognizing as the first controller, gun 1 is recognizing as the first controller, so the IDs have swapped. So what I'm going to do quickly is I may set to game controller if I just allow it to run once. So all I'll do is give to game controller run. It should reset my IDs. It's taking its time finding the guns. Right, there's something not quite right. What I'll do is I may have to actually open it up and reset the IDs inside the machine. Unplug the guns and replug them back in. And what I'll actually do is I'll restart the machine, completely restart it, and then I'll give to game controller a run and try and get it set back to default. And what I may have to do is the first initial boot of the system is run to game controller to allow those IDs to jump into position. Because the problem is when it's booting up, the Zinmo controller is recognizing after the guns, and if it does that, then it's going to cause the guns to be gun 1, gun 2. So I've got to reset the gun IDs. So if I just run into Windows here, Alt and F4 out of Hyperspin, and just double check, see if we've got our gun IDs. If not, what I'll have to do is I'll have to cut the video out and just I'll have to open the machine up and reset the guns. So we've got the guns there. So we've got them in order actually there. If I just load up Rocket Launcher. In Rocket Launcher you can actually test the gun IDs. So you can test to make sure they're in the right order. So that's recognizing as gun 4 and that's recognizing as gun 3. So both guns have swapped positions. So if what I might have to do, we've got a program on here as well as Joy IDs that may help swap them around in the correct order. Try running Rocket Launcher again. See, this is a problem. If I have a niggly issue, it means it could take up to an hour just to mess on doing. So that's Joy ID, Joy 3 now, and that's Joy 4. But what I need to check is I need to make sure that inside demol shooter it's recognizing the guns in the right order as well. So I'm going to go to arcade tools and demol shooter. So demol shooter is now defaulted. So what I'd need to do is make sure it's run as administrator. And that's because the gun IDs have changed. Because it's changed the gun IDs, now it should be. Let's have a look where my guns are. That's gun, yeah. So that's right. That's gun 1 and that's gun 2. So the first gun, second gun. Save that. And then I'll just calibrate the analog devices. Start. I'm also going to have to check techno parrot. Make sure my guns are in the right order. So let's head to techno parrot. What we'll do is we'll load transformers up. Check. Make sure the gun settings are correct. So we've got our X and Y, button 1, button 7, and so on. So we'll just launch that game. Now there won't be any recoil enabled just yet. I do have to enable that. So we should just have movement on the guns for the moment. So for some reason we don't have any movement in Techno Parrot. So what we're going to do, we might have to reconfigure Techno Parrot. So what I might have to do is just go through all the emulators and just double check that all gun ID 3, gun ID 4, and then what we want to do is just, we'll try and lock the gun in a position so it doesn't button press, because as the gun's actually moving it presses the button. So gun trigger 2. Trying without the gun moving. It changed it to Y movement. Trying to do it one-handed isn't easy. So we'll launch that game. It looks like I might have to, because the IDs have changed, I might have to go in and edit all the systems just for the controls, but that's maybe 20 minutes or so configuration. It's not hard to do, but what I'm going to have to do is I will have to sit and make sure all the tests and everything are done. Make sure every time this machine boots, those IDs of those guns stay exact, because if it does change the IDs, it means having to reconfigure it. Shouldn't have to if I reset the IDs back to the normal IDs, but I don't really know what's gone on with this. So that's working with that, but what I need to do is I need to make sure MAME hooker is working as well, because if the IDs have changed on the system, the IDs in MAME hooker may have changed as well. But what I need to do is I need to load it up in Rocket Launcher, because that's got our joy to key script. Basically, joy to key is set for the gun recoils Y and U. So if we go to Techno Parrot and then we just launch transformers. We should have recoil again. Player 1, player 2. So I will have to do a full reconfigure. It's okay though. Once I've got it configured and I've got it booting up each time, recognizing those IDs, the system will be fine. The main configuration and everything's done anyway. So I'll recoil there. I'll just quit that. So I'll go through Technoparrot, take about 10 minutes for Technoparrot, maybe another 10 minutes for everything else. I'll just double check the newer games. Make sure that our demo shooter is in run as administrator. So yeah, that's defaulted off, but that should take 2 seconds to reconfigure. So that's gone 2, that's gone 1, and then all you've got to do is calibrate the analog devices as well, because sometimes you don't get it right in the corner of the screen if it's not calibrated. And then we'll just stop those, save, and then if we give that a run, I'll run it through. What I'll do is I'll run it through Rocket Launcher anyways. So that's Escape 4D Arcade. I've got everything in Technoparrot at the moment. I know Dark Escape 4D is the System 357, but I haven't created a wheel or a menu for that yet. So I've got everything at the moment. The newer shooters are all in Technoparrot. Though it isn't a Technoparrot game, I've just got it in Technoparrot, got the wheel out there. At a later date, I will create a system menu just for the 357 games. I will be adding the Wii stuff as well. I'll not with this unit this time, but for future builds, I will be adding the Wii stuff. I mean, the customer can, when he wants the update for this with the Wii stuff, once I've got that sorted, it should be, I think once we start the game, we can press the right pinball on this as well, and it'll disable the 3D because it makes it really blurry. But once the customer wants the update, I've got that sorted. What I'll do is I'll just send them a OS drive. They will have to open the machine up, but all they'll have to do is clone it, that new drive to this, and then they should be off and ready to go. So we do have movement there now. We do have recoil. Player 1, player 2 recoil. I may turn this up a little bit. But this is the thing when you're doing arcade machines, you do get niggly little issues and stuff and things like that. It's just one of those things. I mean, the amount of things I've had to deal with and the bull crap I've had to deal with building these machines is ridiculous. So we do have a 3D button. You can turn that on and off. I don't think the actual 3D works for this game. It just makes it really blurry. So we do have 3D turned off. So we have a button. Our right pinball button does disable it. So we have a player 1 cursor and we have our player 2 cursor. That's player 1 working. It's a bit like House of the Dead, this game. It actually takes quite a while to kill the zombies on this as well. I haven't played much of it, I've played a little bit, but it seems to be an alright looking game. What we'll do is we'll just jump in the other folder there, because I guarantee we've got to reset up. Yeah, so we've got to reset that up for player 1 and player 2 because I've changed the IDs. So that's gun 3. I don't want to set gun 3. I want to set player 2. So at some point as well, I will be making a 4-player cab control deck at some point. I do have the design ready for that. Just make sure that is gun 1 and gun 2. Calibrate the analog devices. And then with the multi-shooter, you just rotate the guns, all corners, make sure that those guns are calibrated correctly. Click stop and then just save. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and try Deadstone Pirates again. And because main hooker is loaded up, it should have the recoil as well now set on the game. So I've done a ton of work with main hooker. I've gone through every game. There's one or two things I want to relook at, but I have gone through every game, set recoil for every game, whether it's burst shot, rapid fire, single shot, all those are set for all those games. Now there's one or two games, I think Operation Ghost, which has burst guns, it has single shot guns. Because it's simulated recoil, you can't really set it for all the different guns. You can just, I think I've left it on rapid fire, which is your standard gun. So add a couple of coins. So that's our player 1 cursor working there. And our player 2 cursor. We'll just start that game. So if I hold the right pinball, just keep that held in, because I know once this game starts, it asks you to rotate to the right. So I'm holding the right pinball, it turns it right, and you just keep hold of it. And that's a wheel on the game configured. So if it asks you to move left or right, you just press or hold left or right pinball button. That's player 1. That's player 2. If I hold the coin button, it does quit the game. With Deadstone Pirates, with these guns is spot on. It's a rail shooter game. It's meant really for guns like this. It originally was for the had the PlayStation Move controllers, which were all right, and worked off a little light on the end of your controller. But it does feel a lot better working with these guns on there than the PS, what was it? The PS Move it was called. So I'll just quickly jump in Gaia Attack and reconfigure that, because guaranteed that'll need reconfiguring. Just make sure the multi-shooter is run as administrator. That's fine. And then just set gun 1, then gun 2. Just configure the calibration. And what I'll do is, before I end the video, is I will test to make sure these games I've just set up are working again. So let's launch that game. Not sure what that error is. Let's try loading the game again, because it's saying that the button's pressed. I'm not sure on that error. Let's try loading a script file up. Right, the script's working. It must be a problem with the exe I've created. So I'll actually have to use a keyboard because I haven't loaded it through Hyperspin. So we don't have any recoil on there. I'll just double check, make sure. We do have MIM who got, oh, won't have recoil because I've just loaded it from the auto hotkey. Sorry, that's my mistake. And what I'll do is I'll recompile that. So I'll delete that exe. I don't know what's happened with that. Compile script. And then we should be able to load it. Just make sure when rocket launcher is set up correctly. So guy attack for player exe. So that should, when it loads up, yeah. Not sure why the exe failed on that, but there was issue with the exe. So now we have full movement and full recoil. So this is a single shot game. So what I'm going to do is quit that. There's a couple of games I've got to reconfigure anyways, which I'll do before I leave. But I'll sign out 2 moments. And then I'll give it a test. If I have an issue again, I'll have to sit down and work out what's causing the guns to swap, and then go from there. So we should be able to just load straight into the guy attack. Yeah, we have movement. I haven't set the recoil, so we haven't got recoil, so I haven't enabled that. But we do have movement there. Player 1, player 2 is moving fine. Let's quit that. Let's actually go back and enable the recoil. So like I say, recoil is disabled by default on the system. That's because obviously some customers aren't going to want to hear the recoil all the time, especially if they're playing on the night time, because these guns are really loud. I don't know if you can hear it on the actual video, but these guns are quite loud recoil. The 20 volt solenoids in them, so 24 volt I think. So let's head back to Techno Parrot and let's try Transformers. So we have our recoil player 1, recoil player 2, movement player 1.
To deliver the device with this ice girl. Sam! Sam! Decepticon? You are
So we do have the Y movement up and down on gun 1 for gun 2 as well. So when I was configuring it one-handed, we have got an issue there. It's simple, just I've got to reconfigure it in Techno Parrot. but I'll reconfigure it to make sure that second gun's not moving, because if it slightly moves the gun as you're configuring it, it will recognize that movement, and that's all that is. So I'll shoot off. I'm going to get the reconfiguration done before I've got to come in tomorrow. All I've got to do on this tomorrow is get the extra grill rails and stuff for the guns put on with the prints on there, and then just do my final test. So I'll make sure that I've booted this up multiple times, shut it down multiple times, and all my tests and everything's done before the unit goes off, because the last thing a customer wants is when they do get the machine having an issue like that, and then they're calling me up with problems and so on. So that way, once it's all configured, it just means cloning the drive over. So we've got a backup of all the new games, and what I'll do as well is I'll showcase all the new titles as well, some gameplay footage also. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.